Hello everyone, it's Elena and I'm back with another video, and today I want to talk to you guys about how to approach open book exams. I've been through 2 exam cycles of online exams, and many of these exams were open book exams. Now these exams are quite different depending on the class, so sometimes you were given 2 to 3 hours to complete the exams and other times up to 50 hours. But usually the expectation was that we would spend 2 to 3 hours writing the exam itself. Now, the reason why you sometimes get a huge time span is because some courses have students from different time zones, and so they will have to write the exam at a different time. And sometimes professors also just don't want you to stress about it, but generally it is nonetheless really good to stick to the recommended time for writing the exam, because otherwise you just end up staring at it for way too long. So here are my tips for how to approach open book exams from preparing for them up to writing them. And this video is brought to you by LexisNexis, but more on that later on. First up, here's what I do in the weeks before the exam. I think it is important to nonetheless write your revision notes like you normally do, because it's not realistic that you're going to search through all your textbooks for the information that you need during the exam. So instead, I still write my revision notes in GoodNotes like I do for exams where I don't have access to the notes during the exam. And basically what I like to do is I like to make them look a little bit nice so that I'm more motivated to look at them. If you guys are interested in how I make these notes, I'm going to link the video on it in the info box below. But whatever revision note taking method works for you, just make sure that you have your revision notes ready to go. I base my revision notes on my notes from class and my notes from readings such as cases and academic articles, and I usually have to use legal databases such as the Lexis library in order to find these readings that I have to do for my classes. And these legal databases can be kind of hard to navigate, especially in the beginning, but they are super useful once you know how to use them. And later on in the video I'm going to show you guys a trick on how to learn how to use the Lexis library more efficiently, and if you guys want to learn it right now you can just skip to the timestamp on the screen. And one thing that I find really important if you are doing digital revision notes is that you organize them in folders so that you are able to refer to these folders and you don't have to look through, hundreds and hundreds of pages of notes to find what you are looking for, but instead they are very clearly structured. Same goes for if you're using paper. Just make sure that you, for example, use post-its or dividers so that you can find the information very quickly. And lastly, if you are doing digital notes, make sure that you're using a program where you can search. So on GoodNotes, you can search even your handwriting, which is super useful, and it shows you in context where you wrote that word so that you can then see whether that's exactly what you need. I think it's a really useful tool, and it can just save you a ton of time because you don't need to go for each page individually, but rather you can just use the search tool to get you exactly where you need to be. Now, what should you do with your revision notes? What I like to do is I just like to grab them whenever I have time and sit down and just look over them. I think it's really important that you just spend a lot of time looking at them and reading through them. Make sure that you actually understand what you're reading. Now, I love doing digital revision notes because it allows me to just grab them at any time. For example, later in the evening, I just like to sit down on my bed and just go over them again. And I try to quiz myself a little bit on them in my head, but I'm not too strict on it with myself because I just mainly aim for remembering the framework, but not necessarily the legal paragraphs and stuff. And next, then I try to explain the topic to someone else. I think that's usually where you can see whether you've actually understood it. Now, normally I wouldn't refer to my notes, but for open book exams, I think it's perfectly fine if you grab your notes and then explain it to someone. Now, my family is pretty tired of me explaining legal topics to them, so at this point, my stuffed animals are my loyal audience, but whatever. Whoever will listen to you, just make sure that you explain it to someone, because it really helps if you have to present a topic in a clear way, because it shows whether you actually know what's important about it. And when you're using your notes while presenting the topic, you also start to remember where you can find which information, which will be really useful during the open book exam because you need to know where you can find what.
Yeah, if you ever have a legal question, just call my stuffed animals. They have had a ton of law lectures from me.
As the exam's getting closer, here's what I would do in the days before the exam. Now, obviously, you still need to be revising, but aside from that, you need to make sure that you have everything prepared for the exam itself. So I like to write down when the exam's going to be, how much time I should spend on it, when I'm going to write it, where can I download the paper, where can I upload my answers, and what's the email or telephone number of the professor in case there's a technological issue and I can't upload my stuff. And then this is what it looks like when I complete that template. So I just made up an international law exam in my head and just completed this little template here. Now, obviously, there are no links because I just made that up, but if you guys want to download this template, there's a link in the info box below for you guys where you can download it and then use it for yourself. And one thing that I find really useful to write down as well is things to prepare. So obviously you need to have your revision notes ready, whether you have them printed out or digitally. Maybe you need a statute book, maybe some snacks, a water bottle, stuff like that, just so that you can make sure that everything will be ready on your desk and you don't need to worry on the day whether you have missed anything. At this point, it's also a good question to ask yourself whether you are going to need a guide for referencing. Because with open book exams, you sometimes need to do formal citations, which you normally wouldn't have to do if the exam is an open book. Now, at Cambridge, we usually use this type of citation, but it really depends on the class. Now, I love this printed out guide because you can use your little post-its, and for me that's really, really helpful, but it's also available for free online. I'm gonna link both this printed version and the free online version for you guys in case you're interested in this. And yeah, then it's time to get to exam day. The one thing that really helps me a lot is changing my outfit. When I write an exam in sweatpants, I feel like I'm on my bed and I'm just ready to fall asleep. So for me, it really helps me to just change into normal day clothes because then my brain feels more like it actually has to do some work. And then it's of course important to actually stick to the time that you set for yourself for writing this exam and make sure that you've planned in some buffer time because it may take you a little bit longer. And if you are struggling to stay away from your phone while writing exams at home, it can help to use the Forest app where you can let a little tree grow, and if you leave the app before the tree has grown, then the tree's gonna die, and trust me, that's quite traumatic, so you are gonna stay away from social media. And yeah, then it's time to actually write that exam. But what if there's something in your revision notes that you haven't written down, but that you need to know? Then it can help to quickly look up the information on a legal database such as the Lexis Library. If you're a law student in the UK, you have free access to the Lexis Library, and the Lexis Library is a massive database for legal cases, journal articles, etc. And if you're like me, in the beginning I was very confused about how to use legal databases such as the Lexis Library, but the cool thing is that LexisNexis actually offers you free training for the Lexis Library. And when you know how to use it, then it can be a super useful tool for legal research and you will be able to quickly look something up. And of course, this can also come in handy when making your revision notes because you can add some extra information to your notes. LexisNexis offers you free training for the Lexis Library in the form of certifications, and you can of course also use these certifications on your CV or LinkedIn because many law firms in the UK actually use the Lexis Library, so it will be really useful to demonstrate that you already know how to use it well. And the certifications are completely free. You can just take the test on their website, and don't worry, if you don't pass it the first time, you can retake it as many times as you want to. And they also offer you free training to prepare you for the test. So they will explain to you how you actually have to use the Lexis Library, and then you can take the test. All that information is available on their student hub, and I'm going to link the information about the certifications and the training for you guys in the info box below. And yeah, I can only recommend this to you because it will make your life so much easier in law school because you will know how to use this database, and it really helps a ton. And when you know how to use it, it is super, super useful. And yeah, then you are ready to take your open book exam. If you guys have any open book exams coming up, best of luck. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this video, and thank you so much to LexisNexis for sponsoring it. Have a nice day. Bye!